Adults, what's something your parents did right raising you? Let me debate with them on why I wanted something should be allowed to do something and would change their minds if I made a compelling argument. My mom let me do that too. She would say I could be the lawyer in the discussion, but she was the judge and had the ultimate final decision. I remember being told it was very important to admit when you're wrong, and I think that was solid advice, but I could be wrong. Supported my, then, unusual interests. I was into astronomy as a younger kid and they bought books and telescopes and drove me to from the local astronomy club at late hours. Later, this was the 80s, they bought me a series of computers which were pretty expensive for the time and for their income. I'm grateful they supported what I was into. Me too. I was super into astronomy and props to my parents for my telescope and chauffeuring. They were even kind enough to send me to a life-altering astronomy program in summer when I was a teen, and had unwavering support when things seemed impossible during all my studies. I start my research postdoc in astronomy at Harvard next week. Taught me the importance of quality duct tape. If duct tape can't fix it, it's not worth fixing. They instilled a good work ethic. If you do something half-assed, you'll have to put 2 asses in to fix your F-ups. If your name is going on it, make it your best. They also always encouraged my creativity, never told me I wasn't capable of something. They always told me I can accomplish anything I want as long as I put effort into it. My parental units are awesome. Never half but 2 things when you can whole but one. Ron Swanson. In a way he's like a father to all of us. You can do whatever you want but you are responsible for your choices. Yep. Take responsibility for your own actions and decisions. If you messed up, own up to it and deal with the consequences. But they gave me the freedom to make those, limited at first, mistakes. They made sure I understood money management, saving for retirement, etc. Made my life so much easier. Have never had to worry about money or debt a day in my life. They treated me like an adult, never belittled what I was feeling or what was meaningful to me, and explained practicalities of life when need be. Because I said so was not a common phrase. Also, they were the most supportive parents anyone could ask for, and they had the time to get involved with the things I did. My dad taught me scientific wonder and mentored my robotics team. My mom volunteered for all my theater and music stuff while simultaneously serving on school boards, PTOs, Friends of Music, curriculum committees, and about 100 other things. They are just incredible people. They treated me like an adult, never belittled what I was feeling or what was meaningful to me, and explained practicalities of life when need be. Because I said so was not a common phrase. This is a huge goal of mine. It's difficult when my toddler isn't being reasonable, but I try to keep at it anyway. My dad always made my brother and I take the lead. He would obviously always know what was going on and would be a few steps ahead of us. If we were in a new city, we would be in charge of working out which bus to take. Or if we were cooking, we'd be reading the recipe and telling my dad what to do, etc. It's pretty simple, but it meant we were pretty good at doing things ourselves and were already really independent before leaving home. We were visiting London once and I managed to get on the tube before the doors closed, but my dad did not. I knew where we had to change, so just got off at the stop and waited for the next train with him on. I think most 8-year-olds might have freaked out a bit. I trained people by doing this, but hadn't though about using this concept with my kids. Thanks. My mom always made me try a bite of any food in front of her before she'd allow the "I don't like it" line. Now, thanks to her, I'm willing to try any food drink once, even if I think I won't like it. I'm glad she did that. We have this policy with our kids. They often will keep trying something they previously disliked and realize their taste has changed. It's really fun to see that happen. Read me bedtime stories every night as I was growing up. It instilled in me a love of reading, and I am certain it contributed to helping my brain work more better than people what doesn't read good. Same for me. I remember my dad reading The Hobbit to me by the time I was in kindergarten. How to con your way into making people think you know what the frick is happening. My dad now thinks I'm a well-adjusted adult parent. I'm convinced even the most trained professionals still just wing it most of the time. 1. My dad treated my mom right. 2. I had chores. 3. Typically, they considered real-life consequences to mistakes adequate teaching and didn't tack on arbitrary punishments. It was like the opposite of our insane parents. Also, they treated me like a person when I was a kid. Yeah, no. Asking permission to come in my room, listening to me, allowing me to object respectfully, etc. Not that I always objected respectfully, haha. Something that has stayed with me forever was when my dad gave me an article from Time magazine that explained in layman's terms how our brains don't stop growing until we're in our early 20s. And one of the last parts of the brain to form is our ability to fully comprehend the consequences of our actions. We think we can, but we can't fully understand the magnitude of our decisions until later in life. I was about 15 when he gave me that article. He went on to explain that his job, as a parent, was to sort of fill in that gap by making decisions for me that will decrease my chances of making a bad decision. Basic stuff like curfews, picking me up from things instead of letting friends who might have been drinking drive me home. The most important takeaway was that he wanted me to know he 100% trusted me, but there was a limit to that trust because even if I thought I was making good decisions, I didn't have all the tools yet to make the best ones. I appreciate that. Looking back on some of the dumb stuff I still managed to get away with at that age. Stuff I would never do now. It was nice having a parent explain why he wanted to control some aspects of my life besides just saying because I said so. Love this. My mom instilled a deep sense of empathy in me and compassion for those less fortunate than myself. Not just those less fortunate than you, but also just everyone you come across. I am paraphrasing here, but the lesson was always, you don't have to like the other person, but you should try to understand where they come from. If you do, you will find empathy where there may have been none. I grew up in the Project C estate as you might know them, basically surrounded by gang violence, drugs, etc. My parents worked extremely hard at keeping my siblings and I away from bad influences in the area. That meant not allowing us to hang out with the other kids' teens who lived there, as well as accompanying us wherever we went. As kids we saw it as stupid and didn't understand why we weren't allowed to hang out at the park at 12 AM with the other kids, or why we couldn't stay out by ourselves for hours like they were allowed to. Now I understand why my mum was so restrictive as to our whereabouts and only going out with her. These kids that I went to kindergarten with would begin to steal at ages as young as 6, whether it be snacks from the corner store, or skateboards and bikes. Their parents didn't give a flying frick as to where their kids were, because they were too busy working or in some cases shooting up to care. My mum and dad slaved away so they could afford to send us 4 kids to a private school, even if that meant they went hungry a couple of nights a week. We were always fed though. They didn't want us going into the, quite frankly, crappy public schooling system that was close to us but infested with bad influences and kids who had parents who were selling drugs or in prison. It all worked out for my parents anyway, as they were able to save up and buy a house to get us away from that shithole. Thanks to my parents, my 2 elder sisters have been the first in our family to get into university. One's in law school, the other studying journalism. I'm almost finished with high school. Please make it clear to your parents that you understand that they went through all of that for your sake and you appreciate it. They deserve acknowledgement for doing that. They paid for piano lessons, guitar lessons, and singing lessons. My partner's parents did that. They also allowed kids to quit when they wanted, but always supported them in their choices. My partner is now a music professor, her brother is a conductor, and their sister is active in community theater. She was a public school music teacher, but got a more lucrative job elsewhere and made it into a hobby. They sat us down with them when they paid the bills every month. We started out thinking we had a ton of money, let's buy X. Then watching as the paycheck money dwindled as bills were paid. We'd inevitably finish paying bills and think we still had a lot. Then dad would say, you want to eat this month, don't you, and put aside money for groceries. It was so useful because we learned how much things actually cost, how to put money away for items you couldn't yet buy, like groceries, and how to save for specific things like retirement and a new roof for the house. It also got us to stop asking for money since we saw that there wasn't much left over. I wish my parents had done this when I was a kid. I learned it nonetheless, but I think it would have come more naturally if it was taught at a young age. The way of the dad jokes. My dad makes loads of jokes and will have an annoying saying for every little screw up and has a story behind everything and will do voices for every inanimate object in the house. But he doesn't do the typical dad jokes. Per se. I'm not really sure if I'm missing out or not. At least I've got loads of dad friends who make dad jokes. My mum taught me and my brothers to take care of ourselves domestically by time we were 16. At that point we were essentially tenants, responsible for our own needs and expected to contribute to the household. My dad gave us a strong impression of what would be expected of us in the workplace and instilled a sense of pragmatism that lasts a lifetime. You only have a few years to prepare your children for the world. It's basic training before they enter the battlefield. You want them to survive, to succeed. I'm a parent myself now, I understand. That's awesome. I wish more parents prioritized preparing their children for adulthood. Make midlife crisis and divorce look so unappealing that I strive to avoid his mistakes. Sometimes a bad example is better than a good one. Never forced me to do something but gave me so many opportunities. Controversial one, but as a kid, but don't start any physical violence, but if someone punches you, punch them back. I seem to be targeted for bullying and violence in school and this helped. As soon as someone knows you will fight back, 9/10 will give up. Definitely different as an adult though. As an adult I'd rather just avoid any physical violence entirely because the chances are, if they are getting into physical violence, they probably don't have a lot to lose and you don't want to get stabbed or something. My parents taught my brother and I the same thing. Always told us they would defend us all the way to the Supreme Court of need be if we got in trouble at school for defending ourselves, as long as we didn't instigate it. Also gave me permission to hit my younger brother back if he hit me first. He learned he couldn't get away with doing whatever he wants to me and we grew up as best friends. Taught me to be independent at a young age. I will never do for you the things you can do yourself. That was my dad's motto. Even if I struggled with things, my dad would wait patiently and encourage me to keep going. Humor. My dad had the best sense of humor. And pancakes. He made the best pancakes. Value of living within your means. Compassion for others. Made me deliver papers as a kid and then take on proper employment from the age of 14, which is about as young as you can do so legally in Australia. They made drugs and alcohol seem like they weren't a big deal. They offered wine with dinner, and they held their promises when they said they'd pick me up from a party, no questions asked. They made it seem like it wasn't a forbidden fruit, so I never had the urge to abuse it or sneak around. I've never had a problem with it thanks to them. I have healthy boundaries. Teaching the importance of fiscal value, as in, understanding how much money you have and being mindful of how you spend, save, borrow, etc. It's done wonders for my credit score growing up and has so far managed to keep me from getting into financial trouble. Manners. I have autism, which caused a lot of issues. A psychiatrist had me diagnosed and my parents made sure I had the support I needed. It's easy to say someone is a difficult child, but figuring out why and helping that child find a path in life that works for them is the best thing they could ever have done for me. I knew this already, but I needed to see it again. Thank you. I'm currently dealing with similar issues with my daughter and I'm exhausted and frustrated, trying to dig deep for the energy to pursue the answers we need. My dad taught me to think for myself and not follow anyone's words mindlessly. It has backfired on him when I didn't listen to him though. XD. Still, thank you for doing such a good job, Dad. I love you. Perhaps the most important thing my parents did for me was stimulating my imagination. And not only that, they were more than happy, for a while, anyway, to hear about the bizarre concepts that I came up with, or about I had special dreams. My mother finally pushed me to start recording my conversations, which was probably a good call for all participants. They were well off but complete cheapskates, never spending more than they need to. That has since transferred to me. My mother made sure I ate healthy. I was a super picky eater with an insatiable sweet tooth thanks to my late grandmother, and really only wanted to eat McDonald's Happy Meals, Cocoa Crispers, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and butterscotch pudding. I grew up on all natural peanut butter and jam instead of Skippy and jelly. My mom would fry up a burger and fries for me and make me a Happy Meal at home. I had Ovaltine in my chocolate milk instead of Nesquik. My mom would pound out a chicken breast, cut it, bread it, and bake it for me, so I had chicken fingers that didn't come from a bag. She gave me so much fruit because I wouldn't eat vegetables. I love my mom. Be unbearably strict and overprotective. It forced me and my siblings to be crafty, really crafty. That adults can be freaking idiots too, and they're not always right. Made sure I understood the value of empathy and just listening. Dad was a recruiter for the army, and recruits would reach back out to him because he would help them get their school life in order, help get home life in order if they needed it, and refuse to lie to them about the entire process. He'd drive out of his way to take them to the gym to help them get into shape, and would say if they needed anything to call. He complained about it, but I could see he was just happy to help people around him. My mom was literally everyone's mom. I had a lot of friends whose parents worked a lot of hours, didn't listen to their teens, or just didn't care what was going on in their lives. My house more or less had an open door policy, and I would come home so often to see me or my sister's friends just chilling with my mom. They just wanted a mom to listen to them and give them advice, and that's what she did. Always honest and always truthful. I have a few non-blood related sisters who my mom took in for a time, and they always say Happy Mother's Day to her. My sister and I took their lessons to heart. My sis is a school psych. I'm trying to become a teacher. We try and be sympathetic and listen to the people around us. Father taught me in the early zeros, when I was 16-20 or so, how to use computers, so I wouldn't be one of those people later in life going Dear W. Hearties AC on Putter 11. Godfather taught me not to spend money foolishly, but don't be afraid to spend it. You can't take it with you when you're gone. Mother, nothing. She was a useless C. You had me in the first half. To chew with my mouth closed. Talking about death. My dad taught me that cats and other animals that are not inside or fully domesticated animals will go into the woods to die. He also took me to funerals at a young age. He didn't sugarcoat it, just explained what death was and the afterlife of heaven and heck. He also explained how we take care of the bodies of humans and other animals very matter of fact. He also explained how to treat them with honor. It really helped me cope with the deaths of orphaned kittens when I worked feeding them in an animal rescue. Side note, he also taught me how interesting old southern cemeteries can be. You can find the year that mad cow disease affected the communities, or other diseases based on the multiple number of graves that have the same ending year as well as the ages of the people when they died. Now I'm an archaeologist. So go Dad. Good manners. Just basic stuff like please, thank you, you're welcome, etc. As an adult, I'm honestly shocked by how frequently I see other adults that have terrible manners. Give me this, I'll take that, I want that. Or after a waiter drops off a check and tells them to have a nice day, they reply with yeah or sure. The frick? I straight up judge other adults on this stuff. Get your fricking life together and stop interacting with people like a knuckle dragging Neanderthal. My parents never told me I was smart. My mom wryly observed that actually smart people should be smart enough to figure it out at some point anyway. We gals were also never told we were pretty. Instead, the conversation was always around working hard, being kind to others, and all the things a kid can actually work on. And Lord knows I was a bright but lazy kid who needed to not fall into that trap. I fell into the trap you avoided, was praised based on results more than effort put in, sailed through school easily, teacher's pet but not popular with children my own age. Reality hit me like a tank and I'm still trying to sort my crap out. This is a money dog. Upvote in the next 24 hours and money will come your way. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check out another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.